had a pretty good understanding of what studies is about. However, what I didn't get myself ready for was that I imagined that I was going to be studying books like the Quran. I was going to be studying Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, these big books that you hear time and time again quoted in talks. So anyway, when I went there, I was shocked because I was given 6 books which I never imagined were ever studied in the world. Now I used to actually sit in front of the teacher, not directly in front, a bit towards the right, and I used to have my red desk and my 6 books, and I used to sit on the floor with everyone else. And sitting on the floor was first of all something that was very difficult for me because I was used to sitting on tables and chairs. Sitting on the floor, it did give me a bit of problems in the beginning, but I did overcome them, alhamdulillah, got used to them. But I was still confused about is this method the best method for me? I wanted to study Quran, and I'm going through all of this, and should I really be going through it or not? Should I give up? These thoughts did come to my mind time and time again, and they'll come to your mind as well. Anyway, right, going back to my studies then. So we used to study in the daytime, but what about revision? So revision used to start from Maghrib until about 10, 11, depending on the season. So everyone every day had to study, right? You had to study, you had to revise. I think this is very, very important when you're learning, that every day you consolidate your work, you go over it, you repeat whatever you've learnt. Okay, anyway, so I used to sit down in this place by one of the pillars with my red desk, and I used to have my 6 books, which weren't very heavy. And I used to start off with, I think it was Nahu. So I start off with Nahu. Nahu, we used to study a book called Nahu al-Wadih. It was the Ibtida'i, the primary level. In Arab countries it's for little kids, but because we're studying Arabic for the first time, it's okay for us. So it's all about, I think, understanding and memorizing. Now I made a few mistakes initially when I was started to try and learn it. I'm telling you how to improve them, inshallah. So try to understand it, try to memorize the terms. I think the term, because there's a lot of alien terms, new terms, and the rules, concepts. Now if you study a language, let's say you've studied English grammar, you can have a good understanding of what Arabic grammar is going to be about. Because I wasn't really bothered, like maybe most of you probably, in school about English grammar, then it became a bit difficult for me. So anyway, next, Sarf. Sarf is all about conjugating verbs, different types of verbs, different forms of verbs. And I would say the main aspect of Sarf, or revising Sarf, is to memorize, and is to memorize. And did I say memorize? Memorization is the key to learning Sarf. And you all probably can agree with me there. I would say possibly the first 4 or 5 months of learning Sarf, I hardly understood what Sarf was about, and then after that it just clicked, right? So Sarf, this is what happens with the traditional method of learning Sarf that we had. One of the things I would say is the books, we didn't actually study a formal book. It was the teacher. He used to come and he used to write down for us on A4 paper the whole of what we used to know as the Gardan. He would write it all down for us, and then what he'd do from his own notes from his teacher, and then he would tell us to photocopy, and then we'd memorize that for the next day. So we used to have to memorize like A4 sheet of writing for the next day. Anyway, so that was Sarf. Okay, next. The next is studying fiqh. Now fiqh is all about understanding. It is all about understanding, right? You must try to understand. Now you're going to be exposed to new masail, new ma'as which you haven't come across before, so try to understand best as possible. And after you've understood them, memorization, because you're going to come across, because the book that we studied actually was called Fiqh al-Muyassar, and it contains lots of these lists of rules, as in fara'id and wajibat and sunans. And so these are things that we used to study, so memorization is key there. So you have to remember, especially in the first year, I would say. Qasas is the next book. Okay, Qasas al-Nabiyyin is a book on stories of the prophets, and it's written by Sheikh Abul Hasan Nadawi. I made some mistakes in trying to revise these books, learn these books, so I'm going to give you my understanding of today, how you should revise them. New words, Qasas, learn new words that you come across. And number 2, understand the story. These are the 2 main things I would say focus on. The rest, if you want to memorize it, if you want to do, apply Arabic grammar to it, that's up to you. Now, we used to have, just like you guys probably have, time wasters, yappers, who used to just sit around and just talk and ask, and how's the weather, and how's this, and what's your favorite food, and where are you from, and what do your parents do, blah blah blah, yap. So these time wasters you're always going to get. Now, alhamdulillah, in them days we never used to have the distraction of a mobile phone, nor internet, all these things. So we were kind of okay when it came to distractions. But human distraction is something you can't really avoid. You guys probably get that all the time as well. So initially I used to think to myself, these guys, don't they have anything else to do? I mean, they've come from so far to study knowledge, and all they're doing is they're wasting time and yapping. And now I used to fall for this many times as well. I used to go and have tea with them and end up in discussions and just talking about things, a waste of time. But try and keep focus in studies. Okay, the other subject was tajweed. Now tajweed is something where I would say practice pronunciation is very, very important. You must try and practice how to pronounce words. If you don't practice pronunciation, you won't learn tajweed. Basically, you can learn all the theory you want. Pronunciation is key. So this is why our teacher used to make us practice and practice. Now I had a bit of practice from before, so it was a bit easier for me. Okay, anyway, I think the last topic is Tariqa al-Asriya, and this is a book on spoken Arabic by Sheikh Dr. Abdul Razak. Now the book is very, very good for learning how to speak Arabic. I would say it's got lots of words in there, lots of conversations in there, all that. But I would say more important than that is speak, practice, and listen. Speak, practice, and listen in lesson and outside of lesson. Now I was quite fortunate because where I was studying there was lots of students who practicing to speak Arabic. So although they couldn't speak perfectly, but they were practicing. So we had lots of opportunity to speak Arabic with the guys. And sometimes what used to happen was some of the guys used to actually, the senior students used to call me and make fun of my Arabic and say to me, "Ah, kayf al-hal?" and start saying to me, "Speak in Arabic, come on, speak in Arabic to us." So my Arabic was a really broken Arabic, messed up Arabic, masmuka, and so I had no idea what these guys were saying initially. And I used to think maybe these guys are speaking Quran to me or something. And but alhamdulillah, because of that, like my teacher said, if you're laughed at, you just become more confident and strong in studying. So I used to love it. I used to speak with them and try to improve my Arabic and all sorts. So guys, those are my tips. Okay, one thing left is we used to go over the next day's lessons. So the new lessons, this is very, very important, to go over what you've studied or you are going to study in the next day. Try to understand that. So you've learnt it once, and then when you sit by the teacher, you learnt it twice, and then when you revise, you learn it 3 times. So 3 times you go over the same lesson. So it's bound to stick in your head. So this was something very, very important, guys. A lot of people they miss this out. I hope that makes sense, guys. Jazakumullah khair. If you have any suggestions, if you have any more, or comments or anything you want me to make a clip on, then please leave them in the comments below. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.